Hey everybody, welcome to Chase for the Championship. I am Chris Clark. We are less than 3 weeks away from the ACC tournament, and teams are starting to hit their stride while others are, I don't know the way to say it, they're starting to fall apart. Tony Bennett and company continue their tear through the league. We're going to talk with Coach K about his baby Blue Devils. Coach Forbes has his Demon Deacons playing inspired ball. And, oh yeah, Georgia Tech may have found the formula for a true home court advantage in the COVID era. Man, we got so much to get to here. Stick around. I mean, it's great. And I feel like we say this every single week. And for the last few weeks, actually, we have been. The Virginia Cavaliers, tops in the ACC. After a postponed game with Louisville, the Cavs came out and did away with Georgia Tech without even breaking a sweat, really. For more on Tony Bennett and the guys, we turn to WRIC's Natalie Calabit. Natalie.
The number 9 Virginia Cavaliers had to dig deep on Wednesday at Georgia Tech, but they got the job done to stay alone in first place in the ACC standings. The Cavaliers trailed by 6 at the break, but Tony Bennett's message was simple: go and get it.
I kind of just tried to wind our guys up at halftime saying, throw caution to the wind, but be sound, but be aggressive. You got to go make some plays.
And Kihei Clark did just that, scoring 8 of his 14 points in the final 8 minutes.
Those of us who've watched him know he's got that heart inside, and he's kind of fearless, and we needed it.
Down by 3 with 6:18 to go, Virginia went on a 7-0 run to take the lead for good.
All of the guys, I think they realized they had a slide, and you could just feel both teams were tired at the end, but we just got enough shots to go down and plays to be made, and coupled it with sound defense.
Next up for Virginia is a home matchup against North Carolina on Saturday. Then it's a quick turnaround on Monday at number 17 Florida State. Covering Virginia, I'm Natalie Calabit.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Tip-off of that game is set for 6 p.m. They're facing off with a UNC team that has had some time off due to a few players not following the rules there. For more on the Tar Heels, we're going to look to WNCN's Alyssa Ray, who is covering the squad. Alyssa.
Yeah, Chris, well, it all started when Miami's game at North Carolina Monday was postponed. The release said the schools mutually agreed the game could not be played. Soon after, a video started circulating of Tar Heels players celebrating the win over Duke Saturday without masks on. The athletic department has since released a statement from the players and managers saying in part, quote, Saturday night, a number of players and managers, not just the ones shown on the video that was seen, got together to celebrate our win at Duke. Our intention was to celebrate privately within our group. Unfortunately, we allowed several friends who are not members of the team to join the gathering. We were inside and not wearing masks, which were mistakes, end quote. They also apologized to Roy Williams. Coach Williams released a statement on the situation saying he appreciated the players voicing their apology, that they've realized they made a mistake, and they're paying a significant price. The Tar Heels are scheduled to play number 9 ranked UVA on the road Saturday. We'll see if that game goes on as planned. Covering Carolina, I'm Alyssa Ray.
Thank you, Alyssa. And after falling to Georgia Tech on the road, which we're going to hear a little bit more about later, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish rebounded to take down the Duke Blue Devils in Cameron Indoor. The Irish seem to be getting things together at just the right time. And for more on that squad, we turn things over to Chris Widlick. Chris.
Now, the Irish may not finish near the top of the scrambled ACC standings this year, but one thing is for certain, they are not boring. After blowing a 17-point lead in Atlanta and losing to Georgia Tech, Bray's bunch turned the tables in Durham. Spotting Duke a 15-point edge at Cameron Indoor is a recipe for a rout. But this isn't your typical Blue Devil team. Behind a career game from Cormac Ryan and some clutch plays from senior Prentice Hub down the stretch, the Irish rallied for their second ever win at Duke, and the confidence is back.
It just feels great to get a win. I mean, seeing everybody happy when we come into that locker room, we were kind of crushed after that Georgia Tech loss. So, just seeing everybody happy and everybody playing to their best ability, I think that can keep us rolling and help us through the rest of the season.
Notre Dame that won at Kentucky and won at Duke. That ain't ever happened before, and I bet you it won't happen again, certainly while I'm alive. And so it was a little bit of, maybe a scalp to say, God, we won in, 2 arenas that 2 blue blood arenas.
Cameron and Rupp are quiet this year. No fans, but it is a rare sweep and 2 very tough arenas to win. Well, no doubt Notre Dame will welcome back-to-back home games at Purcell Pavilion against Miami Sunday, then Clemson on Wednesday. That's a realistic chance for the Irish to finally reach the 500 mark on the season. Reporting on the Irish in their chase for a championship, I'm Chris Widlick.
Thank you, Chris. Next time we see him, like you said, going to be Sunday, 6 p.m. tip-off time when they take off the Miami Hurricanes for that one. And those Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they're a team with nothing short of a gauntlet of a schedule in front of them and nothing they can really do about it. With rescheduling due to COVID, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have 4 games in 7 days. They started off by taking on top-ranked Virginia last night. Lost to Tony Bennett and his Cavaliers by 8. Tomorrow they get Clemson. Sunday they get Pittsburgh. And then they finish it off with a game against Boston College on Tuesday. Oh, my goodness. I know they're young and top athletes, definitely in shape. But, man, that's a ton of minutes. Georgia Tech head coach Josh Pastner knows it.
I mean, this is a hard stretch. There's no question about it. Like, I'm debating to even practice today. Honest to God, I'm sitting here. We're scheduled for practice at 3 o'clock. We canceled practice today just to have another day of rest, knowing of what's coming in front of us. So, because I knew how we looked so tired on that Monday. And so I do think we're in good physical condition. We are in good shape, but 4 games in 7 days is a lot. But we got to get the games in. I mean, we're going to try to get the games in. We need the games. If we want to have a chance to get to the tournament, we got to win some games. And this is the only way it falls, is in order for us to get some of these games in.
And in the day and age of COVID, have the Yellow Jackets found a way to give themselves a true home court advantage at McCamish Pavilion? I mean, you can't if it's not full, but with the people that they have there, I mean, the fans and the band, I mean, it's a start. 11 straight home wins. Think about it. One most recently over Notre Dame last Saturday. I mean, it's tough to argue crowds don't make a difference, and that Georgia Tech has found a little something here with what they do.
And when we left, I said, I give credit to Georgia Tech because they, in this COVID atmosphere, whatever their rules are, they created, it was loud and the band was playing and it kind of brought back memories. That's the first time all year on the road that I felt like that.
You know, even if it's limited people, you have some noise in there. And I think the band's been great. The students have been great. So we're very appreciative.
I think a lot of it, too, is they have created a home atmosphere. No other place have we played where it's loud and there's a band and it really helps their team. I think it really helps their team. And I'm going to talk to my AD. Can we get the band in March for a game?
They had to make shirts with that, getting the band back together. That'd be a great selling point there. Next time Jackets are on the court, well, it's tomorrow night, but they're on the road, and they won't have the band with them. They're taking on the Clemson Tigers. And to see how those Tigers are holding up, we're going to turn things over to WSBA's Pete Yannity standing by. Pete.
The Clemson Tigers have enjoyed a few days off during the week, having gone from a win over Syracuse on Saturday to not having to hit the court again in game action until a Friday night showdown against Georgia Tech at Little John Coliseum. Brad Brownell saying that he certainly welcomed the added rest from games for his team. Now in that ball game on Saturday, Amir Sims became the 42nd Tiger all-time to reach 1,000 points in his career. It is certainly a notable achievement for the senior from the state of Virginia. He reflected on it after the contest.
This type of program, you definitely got to, pay your dues and do the dirty work for a while. And then as the time comes, you're prospering to that player. And I think that's what's transpired here with myself and others in the past. But it's definitely a blessing to join those great guys that came before me and kind of paved the way for a guy like me to kind of reach that milestone.
A great player, great person, hard worker. Really happy that he's being rewarded for all his hard work. I've said many times this year that he's worked extremely hard these last 2 years to improve his game, to develop different types of skills.
The Tigers began the week with a 12-6 overall record and sitting at number 46 in the net rankings. They're a game over 500 in the ACC as well. So right now, with 5 victories going into Friday night's game against teams ranked above them in the very important NCAA metric, the net, well, Clemson's resume looking very good for an NCAA tourney at-large bid. Covering the Clemson Tigers, I'm Pete Yannity.
Thank you, Pete. Moving on here, been a tough year for the Syracuse Orange, but things might be looking up as of late. Guys from upstate New York played Clemson tough, knocked off NC State this past Tuesday. For more on the goings-on in the Dome, turn things over to Steve Infanti for the latest. Steve.
Well, the term must win is overused in sports, but if Syracuse hopes to earn an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament, Tuesday's game at NC State did indeed feel like one the Orange had to have on the road against a middle-of-the-pack conference opponent, especially coming off that poor performance Saturday at Clemson. Syracuse got the job done Tuesday night, winning 77-68, and as a result, the Orange continues to hang around the NCAA tournament bubble. There was a lot to like from that performance. Q shot it well, making 47% of their shots. They defended well, forcing 20 turnovers. But the biggest stat came on the glass. SU had 4 more rebounds than the Wolfpack, making Jim Boeheim's squad 10-0 this season when winning the rebounding battle.
I think we all just got in and contributed. It was no one guy. I mean, we haven't been getting any turnovers. We trapped more aggressively and got some deflections and turnovers. They're a good, really good offensive team. And, we did a good job defensively. Really good job.
SU is now back to 500 in conference play, hovering right around number 50 in the net rankings. Next up is a visit from Boston College at 2 p.m. on Saturday. A win would be the team's 5th in its last 7 games. Covering Syracuse, I'm Stephen Fonte.
Thank you, Steve. Like you said, next time we see him play, you're going to host Boston College Eagles at 2 p.m. in that one. And speaking of those Eagles, Boston College got on the court last night against Wake Forest. Been a tough run for those Eagles. They've lost 6 of the last 7 games since Christmas, with 5 others postponed because of COVID-19 protocols. But despite this, last night, Jay Heath scored 20. C.J. Felder had 17 points, 14 rebounds for Boston College. Rich Kelly had 13 for the Eagles. It wouldn't be enough, but they hung with Wake Forest, even cutting the lead to 1 with just 3 minutes to go. It just couldn't get the finish, man. Couldn't finish the game off. Coach Christensen summed the game up to liking guys, they're coming back, but they're not quite ready to go full tilt yet.
We had some guys come back. Makai came back today. The other guys are progressing, through both the BC and the ACC return to play protocol and making progress. But as you can see, it's really hard for kids when they come back from that much time off. Like Makai, he has not. I thought he played unbelievably hard. He's a great kid. He's a superb athlete, which is why he can conditionally play. But when you haven't played in 30 days, it's hard. And we had the same thing with both Luka and Rich Kelly the night before. I'm glad and we're happy to get guys back, but it's a pretty daunting task to try to come back out from that far of a layoff for anybody. So I'm proud of the effort, but I think the execution and obviously shot making is what's costing us right now.
Daunting is the word for that. All right, now before we go any further, you all know what time it is. It's trivia time, and today's question might take a little bit longer to figure out than previous ones. No Googling. I see you grabbing your phones right now. All right, here we go. Players from North Carolina, Duke, and NC State ranked 1, 2, and 3 on the ACC's all-time scoring list. Who are those players? Think about it. No Googling. Come on now. Do this the old-fashioned way. Use that gray matter between your ears. We're going to be back with the answer a little bit later on in the show. Moving on here, been a month and a half since NC State's biggest win of the year, a home victory over arch-rival North Carolina. But since then, the Pac season has gone south. Injuries, postponed games have State reeling with very little time to right the ship. As Todd Gibson reports, the Pac took another step back on Tuesday in a home loss to Syracuse.
The losses just continue to mount for NC State, make it 7 defeats in their last 9 games after Tuesday's 9-point home loss to Syracuse, a game in which the Wolfpack allowed 14 offensive rebounds while committing 20 turnovers.
The best answer I could give you, honestly, we just shoot ourselves in the foot every time we come out on a loss. Either we got the lead and we shoot ourselves in the foot second half, or from the get-go they punch us in the mouth and we always in a dogfight throughout the game, and we never seem to come out on top when it come down to those possession games and those, possession key moments of the game that let them get their lead. So I honestly think it's just that.
They got 15 more shots than we did. They got 60, we got 45 because of the turnovers and also because of the offensive rebounds. And not only turnovers are bad by themselves, but the issue with it was we turned them over for touchdowns and they were able to score and not have to play against a set defense. I thought our effort was there. Our guys are playing hard. It was one of those games that it's going to be hard to beat a good team. I don't care where you play them at with that many turnovers.
About the only team as cold as NC State is Duke, the Wolfpack's next opponent. The Blue Devils have lost 6 of their past 8 games heading into Saturday's game here at PNC Arena. Following the Wolfpack in Raleigh, I'm Todd Gibson.
Thank you, Todd. That game with Duke set for PNC at 4 p.m. Tip-off for that. And there's no other way to say Now, the Duke Blue Devils have the talent. They just don't have the experience, and it's been showing. Unfortunately, the only way through that problem is, well, through it. The guys need more minutes to get the experience. So let's bring on Coach K, head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. And, Coach, how do you balance trying to win now with developing these players for the future?
Yeah, well, Mark keeps getting more minutes. You know, Henry has done a good job. You know, they put 4 guards out there, and but he'll get those guys. He'll keep playing. You know, in saying that, we're not playing just to get experience. That's not what we're doing. You get experience by playing hard to win, and so even though we're not winning, I think the attempt and the preparation to win is there, or else I would tell you. And you know, youth has to be developed, and our program, we're not accustomed to that. You know, we're not accustomed to losing, but we are, and you have to lose and take responsibility and then build from it, and no excuses, and keep going forward.
Now, Mike, you've shown that you're not afraid to change and to try new things, especially on defense. I mean, you broke the zone out a few weeks back. Now, in the loss to Notre Dame, the Irish shot almost 60% from the field. What can you do differently with this group to put the clamps on that next time around?
Well, there are a number of points, you know, and sometimes you don't remember all of them or don't do all of them. So, you know, they're a very good basketball team, and they've lost a couple. You know, they lost one the last time they were in the triangle. They had the last shot, and and they've learned through their experience. You know, and we have to do that and hopefully take it to an even higher level at some time. It's going to be. It seems difficult to see that happening immediately for us, but. The immediacy of working hard, it will be there all the time, and you never know when it will come. You know, and so that's why you have to keep preparing and keep working.
Yeah, that kind of begs the question: what's the confidence level like right now after losses like that? I mean, we're talking about a group that's not used to losing ever. Really.
Yeah, I really think the confidence level is good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be scoring in that like we are and competing. In losing close games, we have to be careful that they do not lose their confidence. And because, you know, it's really disappointing for them. I mean, for me too, but obviously, you know, you want this to happen quicker for them than it's happening. And so I'm on their side forever, and we're gonna keep going and keep pushing. And again, one, that's what you should do. But two, it'll pay off at some time. It'll pay off at some time. And it's not paying off for wins right now.
Thanks for hanging out, Coach. Appreciate it. Moving on here. No other way to say it. The Louisville Cardinals have been hit hard. The last time they played was February 1st. Since then, their games with Syracuse, Virginia, Pitt, and Virginia Tech have been postponed for positive COVID tests inside the program. Head coach Chris Mack was among those who have tested positive for COVID-19 as he's experiencing some mild symptoms. For more of the team and what's happening, let's go to Randall Parmalee for the latest. Randall.
Well, the Louisville Cardinals continue to have COVID issues. As of Wednesday, still no full team practices, only individual workouts, and the postponed games are really starting to pile up now. Syracuse, Virginia, Pitt, and now Saturday's game at Virginia Tech, all postponed due to the outbreak within the program. Now, one report says the Cardinals have only 6 healthy players right now. Head coach Chris Mack is also sidelined. He's tested positive, and according to the Louisville Athletic Department, is experiencing mild symptoms. The team isn't exactly sure when Mack will even be able to return. Right now, he is only able to communicate virtually with team members and staff. So now as we head down the home stretch of the regular season, health and rust will be a major issue for the Cardinals, who have not played since they beat Georgia Tech way back on February the 1st. Covering the Louisville Cardinals, I'm Randall Parmley.
Thank you, Randall. Stay safe. Like you said, next time we were supposed to see these two is Saturday, but that game was postponed. Instead, they're going to play on Wednesday, March the 3rd. And the next scheduled game for the Cardinals isn't until Wednesday, February 17th, when they take on the Syracuse Orange. For the latest on what the Hokies are going through this week, we turn things over to WFXR's Jermaine Farrell for the latest. Jermaine.
The Virginia Tech men's basketball team only got to play one game this past week, and boy, was it a fun one. Inside the Watsco Center, the 16th-ranked Virginia Tech Hokies men's basketball team rallied late in overtime to defeat Miami 80-76 last Saturday afternoon. Justin Mutz had an all-around performance as he recorded a season-high 22 points along with 7 assists and 9 rebounds. He nearly messed around and got a triple-double. Meanwhile, Miami took a 74-71 lead after a late three-pointer with just 2 seconds remaining, and then off an inbounds play on the out-of-bounds side of things, Hunter Couture drilled a buzzer-beating triple to send the game to overtime at 74. The Hokies took control from there. Now Tech, they improved to 14-4 overall and 8-3 in the ACC. Now, Tech's schedule was jumbled a little bit. Now, last Tuesday, they were supposed to play Florida State at home, but that game was postponed due to COVID issues with FSU. Then Saturday's home game against Louisville was postponed due to COVID issues with the Louisville Cardinals. The game will now be played on March the 3rd at Castle Coliseum. So the Hokies' next scheduled game is set for the North Carolina Tar Heels. That'll be Tuesday night, 6 o'clock in Chapel Hill. Covering the Virginia Tech Hokies, I'm Jermaine Farrell.
Always love the exciting end to those. Thank you, Jermaine. Meanwhile, those Wake Forest Demon Deacons are 3-2 in their last 5 games, and Steve Forbes continues to build his program. Their most recent victory, a hard-fought win on the road at Boston College. For more on what we can expect from Wake as they prep for a date with Florida State, let's go to the person in the know, WGHB's Clara Goodwin. Clara.
It hasn't been the brightest of seasons for Wake Forest, and Ian DuBose has had to watch every struggle the team has gone through courtside due to injury. Last night, the Houston Baptist grad transfer suited up for Wake for the first time since November, and he made sure his return would be a performance to remember, coming off the bench to lead the team in scoring with 17 points.
Oh, man, it was great to be out there, man. I've been itching to get back on the court. You know, Wake's been doing a great job taking care of me and looking after me, and so I've just been my progress coming back, and it felt great to be out there for sure.
Great having Ian back. Ian was able to come in and, you know, have a great game himself, you know, able to push the ball, looked unguardable out there.
Another thing that was big was kind of stepping back from the game and kind of seeing it from a coach's perspective in the sense where a coach would say something to a player, not necessarily when you're in the moment, you always think, oh man, what's going on? But when you hear it, and I'm seeing it just like the coaches are seeing it, because I'm not involved and my head's out of it. I'm just observing the game. I kind of started to understand concepts.
Credit to him to push through it, you know, and he's worked really hard. He's competed in practice. He goes as hard as he can and he gets out.
DuBose led the way to the Deacs snagging their first road win of the season, and maybe, just maybe, DuBose could be the spark this team needs to finish out the last 7 games of the regular season strong. Covering the Demon Deacons, I'm Clara Goodwin.
Thank you, Clara. All it needs is a little spark. Demon Deacons on the road this weekend, taking on Florida State in a noon tip at the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center in Tallahassee, Florida. For an update on the Noles, we go to WMBB's Courtney Mims. Courtney.
The Florida State Seminoles got back to practice on Tuesday after their second COVID-19 shutdown of the year. The number 17 Noles were last in action on January 30th against Georgia Tech, where they fell to the Yellow Jackets 76-65. They come back from this small break to a tough stretch of opponents. They'll head to Wake Forest on Saturday and then host number 9 Virginia on Monday and then host number 18 Virginia Tech next Saturday. It's also the first time this season the Noles will meet up with each of these 3 opponents. Some might worry about this slate of games after a pause to their season, but not head coach Leonard Hamilton. He said on Monday it's just a break, and they've done it before once this season already.
physically, I'm not real sure we're going to be any better or any worse. You know, so this pause should not have anything to do with anything. Now, we're going to get in the gym. We got 3 days. We got to turn it up a notch. We got to try to balance out, making sure that we've gotten back in good condition. Hopefully, we can get some shots up where we can get our hand-eye coordination back.
Hamilton also said that redshirt junior Anthony Polite, who missed the last 3 games with a shoulder injury, is doing pretty good and hopes he will be back for their next few games. We shall see if Polite is back on the court come this Saturday. Reporting on Florida State, I'm Courtney Mims.
Thank you, Courtney. And those Pitt Panthers were supposed to play last night against Louisville, but had that game put on hold for the usual reasons, you know, COVID. Coach Capel and the crew were looking forward to getting back in the court and getting that sour taste out of their mouths with that loss to Virginia last Saturday. They will have to wait until Sunday to do that when they take on Georgia Tech. Long time to go between games, and the downtime, it takes a toll. Actually, the whole season in this current form is taking a toll. Coach Capel remarked how tough the players are to make this work and how different and, well, let's just be honest, joyless it can be.
You have this game that we love and that you want, that normally brings joy to your life, even sometimes in the losses, because you're playing, you get to do something that you love, you get to compete, you know, all the things with that, and that's messed up this year. You know, there are no fans. The competition is just weird. It is. It's weird. The games are weird.
I'll second that. Pitt Panthers next hit the floor. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at McCamish Pavilion in Atlanta, Georgia. And COVID has definitely made this year one to remember. I mean, everything is different. The way the players and coaches and refs do everything. And we asked the coaches if their interactions with the refs this year have been any more unusual than before, or was it just business as usual for them?
A little more understanding. We don't have any real interaction. They stay away from us. You know, pregame, they don't come over and talk.
I don't say much to them, you know, COVID or non-COVID.
You know, I don't think we talk to them probably as much during the game even. I mean, you still have some conversations with guys occasionally when you have a question or disagree with something, but there's a little less communication.
No, I don't think there's been any difference with the officials. You know, they've been good. They listen. You know, they've been good for a couple of years now.
I thought you were going to say with our players. Sometimes you can't find your players. They're so far away. I joked last game because there was a Band-Aid on the floor with Ron. Like, you know, I said, go pick that up. And he didn't want to, so I went and got it. But no, not really.
You know, there's always going to be some tensions there. You're never going to be happy with all the calls.
There's some distance from each other. You're almost supposed to stay away from each other physically and maybe kind of mentally too. You just stay away.
There's probably a healthy deal of respect this year, I think, that has probably been good for a lot of the relationships with coaches and players, or referees and players, coaches.
All right, so about that trivia question from earlier, did you find the answer without Googling it? All right, here's the question one last time. Players from North Carolina, Duke, and NC State rank 1, 2, and 3 on the ACC's all-time scoring list. So who are those players? The answer is UNC's Tyler Hansborough, affectionately known as Psycho T. Oh, come on, you remember that. He's the leader with 2,872 points. Duke legend J.J. Redick isn't far behind him. He clocks in with 2,769, and one of the best scorers in the late 80s and 90s in the ACC, NC State's Rodney Monroe clocked off 2,551 career points. All right, coming down to the end here, the finish line in sight. We've got the teams postponing games still, some coming off of shutdowns. Who do you go with? Who do you go with? Who do you make the call? Who do you bet? That's why we call Jason Logan of Covers.com. So let's bring him on. And Jason, March Madness could look very different with some college blue bloods not making the cut, including some prominent ACC schools. Now that we're in the home stretch of the conference slate, which ACC programs have the best chance to win the big dance?
Yeah, the NCAA tournament futures look completely different than where they've been even over the last 20 years. Usually it's those Dukes and UNCs, Kentucky, Kansas, all there. Right now, Gonzaga and Baylor are the two kind of certain favorites. They're at plus 280 and plus 320 respectively. And then to find the next ACC school, we do have to go down the board a bit. And Virginia at plus 2,000 is the odds maker's highest ACC team in the futures. Cavaliers tied for the 10th overall favorite. And then behind UVA, we've got Florida State at plus 2,300. And then Louisville and North Carolina further down the board at plus 5,500. And it seems funny that those programs would be ahead of, say, Virginia Tech, which is plus 6,500, and Clemson, which is plus 7,500. But that's kind of a product of the betting action. Those teams, they have that rabid fan base, and they draw a lot more money, especially at the start of the season. People will just bet them blindly. So that's why their odds are a little different than some of those other ones. But the ACC definitely has some work to do ahead of them here if they're going to make a splash in the big dance.
Now, before we get to the national tournament, we have to get through the ACC tournament first. So how do the odds look for tournament winners, and which teams do you have pegged as an ACC sleeper?
Yeah, I love conference tournament week. It is it's almost better than March Madness in a sense, just because of the turnover in games. But you look at those odds there for the ACC tournament, they're very, very similar to the NCAA tournament odds. Virginia is the favorite at plus 250, followed by FSU plus 350. And then things get a little murkier. You got Louisville and UNC both plus 500, Virginia Tech plus 600, Clemson plus 1,600, and Duke's still there plus 1,500 actually. And the Blue Devils, it looks like they're going to have one hell of a run here through the ACC tournament, maybe even win that thing and earn that outright bye if they're going to get to the bracket. Virginia Tech at plus 600 could be the most value play out of the bunch. The Hokies, they've won 6 of their last 8 games. They had a couple games this week postponed due to COVID issues with FSU and Louisville. But this team is top 40 in defensive efficiency at KenPom. And while the offense isn't the strongest, VT could be getting back suspended guard Tyrese Radford soon. He was the team's second leading scorer, also their second leading rebounder, 11.1 points and 6.3 rebounds per game. He hasn't played since January 23rd, and he could give this program a bit of a boost on offense here heading into the postseason.
The most interesting game on the board this week, a border war with UNC at Virginia. What should bettors look for in this all-important ACC matchup?
Yeah, there's just so many angles heading into this. I think the status of UNC players, Armando Bacot and Day'Ron Sharpe, is probably the biggest question here for UNC. Those guys combined for 22 points and over 15 rebounds per game. And these were the two guys that got caught on video partying with no mask on after the win over Duke. And it sounds like some other players and maybe staff members were involved in that, but those were the two guys that got singled out. And of course, that situation forced the Miami game to be postponed. And UNC was coming off that win over Duke on the weekend, a big one, and they really had momentum going in the right way, especially on offense. You look at North Carolina, and they averaged only 69 points over the first 4 conference games of the year. But since then, the Heels have been playing really well on offense, averaging 76.85 points against ACC foes. They went 5-2 straight up, and they were 4-3 ATS in those games. So you look at Virginia, and we know what we're going to get from Virginia on the defensive side of the ball. And Saturday marks just the second home game in the Cavs' past 5 outings. UVA is kind of a different animal on offense at home. They average almost 74 points per game at home compared to 67.6 on the road. And I'll tell you why that's very important. They've produced a 6-2 over-under mark inside John Paul Jones Arena, and they're just 1-5 over-under in true road games this season. So there could be value with the over in this Saturday 6 p.m. tip-off. Of course, if UNC has its regular rotation players, that's going to be a big factor in this one.
He's Jason Logan at Covers.com. Thanks as always, Jason. And moving on to these standings, Virginia starting to kind of just run away with the regular season title. Here's how everyone stands in the conference right now. As I said, Virginia is number 1 for another week at 10-1. Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Louisville round out the top 4. That's the same as last week. A bit of a shuffle between 5th and 8th place. UNC remains at 5. Clemson is up to 6, and Syracuse, Pitt, and Georgia Tech are all tied for 7. Duke, surprise, surprise, they're currently 10th. Yeah, I said it, 10th in the standings. Notre Dame is 11th. NC State rounds out the top 12 at 4-7 in conference play. Wake Forest is 13th. Miami now 14th, and Boston College, they made it back on the floor, but they took 2 L's this week. They are in last place, but still got some basketball to play here coming up. And just want to say thanks for Chase for the Championship joining us here for Chase for the Championship, brother. And I got to check the interns who write this stuff here. Yeah, you can watch a brand new episode every Thursday night at 7. And until next week, get out there and watch some basketball. See you next week. I know I wrote that.